but also we've been working on loyalty cards and discount schemes and so on, and quite surprising once you start working on it, what you can save. You do have to work on it in Portugal. It's not like the States where it's just all vouchers and things. You have to join the different supermarkets and get their loyalty cards and go through the process and so on. But once you've done it, you can make significant savings. We were out today, we picked up some stuff. The invoice came to 66 euros. We only paid 60 euros because we had a 10% discount because of the loyalty card. We've just had another 20% discount scheme that's just arrived on our email. And we're also members of ACP, the Automobile Club of Portugal, which is relatively inexpensive to join and brings in a lot of benefits. One of them is that on one day a month, there's something like a 15 cent per litre discount on fuel. And again, extremely valuable. So the point I want to make is there's a lot of opportunity to save money, but you've got to work a little to be able to do that. So that's me done. I'm going to hand over to Carl, who's hosting tonight's event, and we'll introduce everybody and Astrid's wonderful presentation. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you, Jerry. Thanks very much. Yeah, we'll quiz you a bit about that a bit later on, if we may, after we've heard from Astrid on this cost of living in Portugal special. Good evening to people from Texas, Arizona, Utrecht, Pennsylvania this evening. Do let us know where you are and get those questions in the chat, and I will field them after we've heard our presentation from Astrid, and we'll throw the mics open after the recording's over as well. There's a special treat for all you people who chose to be here live for the webinar, the Portugal Calling webinar, and Louisiana just in as well. Massachusetts, thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Yeah, so get those questions in as your inquiries and as your mind gets working on what Astrid has to say right now. Over to you, Astrid.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Jerry. We've repeated a presentation that we did probably last year about the cost of living here in Portugal in relation to supermarket shopping. So if you have been around for a while, it may look familiar to you, but the prices have been adjusted to recent sort of increases due to global price increases for groceries, I guess. So I've just put together a little bit of a presentation to show everyone. Let me just share my screen. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yep, great. Okay, so supermarket shopping here in Portugal. Wait, one second. Okay, so basically to start with, there is probably 8 major players in the supermarket industry here in Portugal. So they are all very competitive and all unique in their own way with different offerings. There are others as well, but they're a little bit smaller. So and there's new ones coming in at the moment from Spain. But the 2 main players is Continente and Pingo Doce, Auchan. Then you've got Aldi, Leclerc, Lidl, Intermarché, and Mini Presso. The web addresses are there, so feel free to go in and have a look around. And maybe, I remember when I was going to be moving to Portugal, I checked out and did a cart full of things I would usually buy back in Australia. So I had a bit of fun doing that. So if you interested in doing that, you can with those those web addresses. But firstly, just to start off with the dairy department. So just need to move this out of the way. I've got the what it was that was bought, I guess. Now these are all based on supermarket home brand, and I did this in Continente, which is one of the bigger players. Purposely chose items that weren't on sale, so that these are the full regular price that you would get on a day-to-day basis. So I've put there the name of the product, what the translation is into Portuguese, and the price you can expect to pay on an average day here in Portugal. So fresh milk, which is obviously a need for every household is around 79 cents a litre, and UHT milk, which is the long life, which is much more popular here in Portugal, is 72 cents. You've got 12 medium eggs for around 1.79, and Greek yogurt 1 kilo for around €2.15. We've got the next slide shows, the meat department. So what to expect for bacon at around 200 grams is €2.09. Ham slices around 1.25. A whole chicken. So if you want a free range chicken, which is obviously more expensive, but you're looking at around €2.99 a kilo. Or if you're just looking for the breast, you're looking at around €7.89 per kilo. Ground beef is around €11.48 a kilo. Then we've got the pork sausages, pork loin, turkey leg, and turkey breast, if you like to consume any of those other options. Next, we have fish. So fresh fish is a huge option here in the supermarkets in Portugal. There's a lot of seafood that is consumed. It's probably one of the most popular dishes here. Very, very reasonably priced and very, very good quality as well, because of the high demand. But you're looking for around freshly cooked prawns, about €10.99 a kilo. Oysters are very, very cheap, and you pay per kilo as opposed to per unit. Mussels are around €2.99. Often they are a bit cheap, especially when they are in season. Whole bream, which is a dorada ground in Portuguese, you pay around €8.49 a kilo. Trout is very, very reasonable at €4.19 a kilo. Octopus, which is extremely popular here in Portugal, you're looking at around €11.99 a kilo. And a side of salmon, you're looking at around €16.99 a kilo. So those prices are extremely reasonable, especially when comparing to Australian seafood prices. To go into the pantry department, and I won't go and read through all of these, but we'll leave the screen up for a little bit for you to see them. But obviously very well priced. Pasta, you're looking around 49 cents a packet. Flour, self-raising or all-purpose, is around 49 cents as well. Olive oil is very reasonable in Portugal, obviously because it's a lot of olive oil that comes from this country, but we're looking at around €10.99 for 3 litres. So that's one of the big tins. So beans, white beans, 59 cents. Ketchup, 64 cents. What else is sort of standing out here that should be worthy of mention? Oh, Kellogg's All Bran, the cereal. So I put this here because probably a lot of people will be familiar with the Kellogg's brand. But to get the All Bran here, which is available, you're looking at around €4.49. So that is sort of towards the more expensive breakfast cereals available. And then we've got chocolate for €1.59 a kilo. So for drinks, instant coffee is very, very cheap at €1.69. 20 bags of tea, €1.49. A litre of Coca-Cola will cost you around €1.79. 6 litres of bottled water, you're looking around 63 cents. A lot of people here do buy bottled water, even though in most places the drinking water from the tap is perfectly acceptable. There is something about Portuguese liking the bottled water as an alternative. We've got Sagres beer, which is 15 bottles at around 330 millilitres. We're looking at €14.65. Obviously, that's not a home brand, but it is one of the most popular beer brands here, and often they're on price for around 50% off. So if you just keep your cycle for the supermarkets up, you can get beer heavily discounted. Gin, the Tanqueray brand, you're looking around $19.99 a kilo. And if you're a bit more upmarket and you want to get yourself a bottle of French champagne, a bottle of Veuve Clicquot will set you back around €49.90. When it comes to toiletries, This is for home brand shampoo and conditioner. You're looking at around €1.49 per bottle. A soap bar, they didn't have any home brand, so I put here the Dove brand, which I'm sure is known worldwide. So about 4 of those is looking at around just under €5 for the pack. Toilet paper for 24 rolls, €3.74, and whitening toothpaste, you're looking around 84 cents, so very, very reasonable. For cleaning up, you've got dishwashing liquid at 1.5, so that's actually quite large. 1.5 litres, you're looking at 99 cents. And dishwasher tablets for no name, you're looking for 40 of those for €3.99. Kitchen towel paper rolls, €1.29. And Surf laundry powder, which I'm assuming it's a worldwide brand. I know that we get the Surf laundry powder in Australia, but we're looking at about 92 doses for $24.99. Again, that's one of the products like beer that you just watch the sales cycle, and it's often half price from the participating supermarket. So it's I never pay $24.99 for it. I always get it for half the price. And a floor cleaner for around 2 litres is about 79 cents as well. From the fruit and vegetables, so this I've tried to keep this in a season as possible. Bananas, €1.05 a kilo, lemons $1.99, oranges $1.49, grapes, which are definitely in season right now, you're looking around $2.99 a kilo. Avocados are very reasonable. You pay per kilo as opposed to per unit, which I'm used to back in Australia to pay $3 each. Here you're paying at around $4.99 a kilo for avocados. Granny Smith apples $1.89, and then in relation to vegetables, you've got pumpkin for $1.19. Onions are very cheap at $1.39. Cabbage is available all year round at around 99 cents. Tomatoes at the moment are in season, so we've got €1.49. Lettuce to $2.29 a kilo, and potatoes, which are 99 cents. I put together some meals here and cook them up. This is based on a family of 4, so perhaps what I feed my family, with a husband and 2 children. So if I was to prepare this roast salmon and veggie tray bake with basil and mustard yogurt, for all of those ingredients that I would buy, the total price for this meal would come to €19.67. So, or €4.90 per serve or per person. So very, very reasonable for a homemade meal. Another one, a family favorite of spaghetti bolognese. If I was to purchase all of these products that are listed on this list, it would come to, and the quantities needed for this particular recipe, it would come to €21.08 or €5.27 per serve. That's a serve that's for 6 people. And then an apple and date pie, if I was to make this with 6 servings, based on all of those ingredients at that quantity, the total cost would be €5.90 or 98 cents per serve. So very, very reasonable then. And that's it. That's it for the little prices. So
cheers, Astrid. Thank you for that. We had a great question in about I suppose not the sliding scale exactly, but the meritocracy of supermarkets, which is the high end, which is the budget end. Any chance of going back to your first slide so we can dig a bit deeper into that? And Thomas is being very helpful in the chat as ever. Thank you, Thomas, from the Ask Our Expats team, as is Sally as well. And you can book those folks. If you want to deep dive into this with an Ask Our Expats person, you can book them up on the website at expatsportugal.com. And I'm sure Thomas and Sally will chip in this evening as well. But that was a great question about which are the high end and which are the sort of budget end of supermarkets in Portugal.
Okay. Bear with me 1 second.
Yeah, sure. No problem with that. And also, great question as well early on from Alison as well. Thanks, Alison, for being here and asking your question, which was which of the supermarkets stock the widest selection of international imported foods, which is an excellent question as well. And if you've got any particular sort of concerns about what you might or might not be able to get here, we'll be able to help you with that tonight as well. So how would you grade these, Astrid, in terms of high end and budget end?
I would think the most budget orientated here would be the Lidl, Aldi, and Mini Presso.
Yeah.
Having said that, both I don't shop in Mini Presso, but I do shop in Aldi and in Lidl. For me, they have some of the best products for the best price. Like the smoked salmon, for example, I only buy from Aldi because I think it's the best, and it's really, really well priced. The salami that we buy, we choose to get from Lidl because we think it's the best and it's the best price. Then things like, if you like sour cream, the only supermarket that you can go to get sour cream from is from Aldi. You can't get it in any of the other supermarkets here. If you like, say, really good Greek yogurt, you can get really good yogurt at very well priced from both Lidl and Aldi. I think they're the best in the market. Continent, for its Greek yogurt, it's probably twice the price, and nowhere near as good. So I would think that Continent and Pingo Doce are probably a little bit more expensive, but they do have great sales, as I mentioned before, where you can go in and get your 50% off at any time. And whereas you'll find that Aldi and Lidl don't really discount because they're already cheaper anyway.
Yes.
There is another chain of supermarkets here called El Corte Inglés. It's a Spanish brand, and that's where you would go pretty much for your much more upmarket quality meats and quality condiments and things like that. So you could go there and buy caviar and jamon that's just 300 euros a kilo for Spanish jamon and things like that. So that's where you would go for that product, but it's not here because there's not a lot of them. But if you do want to go and splurge and buy the best of what you can find in Portugal, then El Corte Inglés is the place to go.
Right, thank you for that. I'll come back to those discount cycles which you mentioned, which I think are really interesting and people might like to know about as well. But the other Spanish, I saw today on social media that the other Spanish brands, what are they called? Mercadona, aren't they?
Mercadona, yes.
Yeah, they're opening up in Viseu, Caldas de Rainha, Santa Maria da Feira, Irish, and Santarém as well. So a branch is opening up. So there is a lot of competition, a lot of choice. This discount cycle thing, you had me when you mentioned beer at half price. This is something that happens, isn't it? You'll get a crate of beer that should be 16 euros perhaps, and they'll slash it in half to 8 euros for a pack of 24 beers or something. And that's just what to excite people and draw them in back to that particular chain.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. And I think when you see it on sale at Pingo Doce, it won't be on sale at Continent. So they probably have some kind of cycle with their suppliers, so to share the market. But definitely, I know at the moment there's sale on beer and ciders in Pingo Doce, but I'm assuming they won't have the same products on sale in Continent. You'll tend to find that Continent and Pingo Doce are more similar, whereas the others are more influenced by the international market. So you've got, obviously with Aldi, you've got sort of a bit more of an international influence, and Lidl also do have special weeks where they might have an Asian week or a Greek week or something like that, and they'll have a range of products come in that you can't get the following week. It's only for that particular promotional week where they're featuring a cuisine off the time. So
yeah, and I think Thomas will want to speak on this, having mentioned Greek food there. But something I want to ask you is with loyalty, and Jerry, you were mentioning this before. I don't think Portuguese people generally are very loyal, are they? They will be looking for these different, be led hither and thither to the special offers that are on. As much as each of the brands will want to make itself the one brand people choose, I think Portuguese people are pretty canny, generally speaking, aren't they? And will follow they'll get often the catalogue from the local supermarket in the mailbox, and that will draw you to a special offer that will be all over the front page, and so people will follow the bargains, I think, across the supermarket ecosphere. Is that a fair observation? There's not a massive sense of loyalty here.
For me or for Jerry?
Well, just generally speaking, Astrid, would you say that's a fair assessment?
I don't think there's a lot of Unless it's because it's convenient, because it's close. I don't think there's a lot of supermarket loyalty here, simply because I believe that each supermarket has different offerings as well. So as I mentioned before, if you want sour cream, you have to go to Aldi. If you want a particular kitty litter for your cat, that you have to go to Continent. If you want, that it's not like they all stock the same things. It's apart from Pingodos and Continent, which are pretty much the same. The others all have different brands and different products available that you can't get at the competitor. So and also, a lot of people go to Aldi and Lidl these days because of the wine. They're bringing in some amazing wines, or having some Portuguese wines here at a fraction of the cost of what the bigger supermarkets. And wine's already cheap here, so you can imagine the difference there. But people are going along just to buy wine from these supermarkets too.
Excellent. And you mentioned Dove and Surf as international brands that people, I think it's fair to say American consumers are quite brand oriented. Which would you say, which of the chains we've looked at tonight cover the widest selection of those international and recognizable brands, if that's an issue for people?
I would think Auchan and Continent and Pingodos. So Auchan's got a very good international food section, especially some of the bigger ones. So not only catering for the UK market, but there's there's American products there. There's a lot of Asian products. There's Brazilian. There's certain African products as well, I guess, because of the multicultural makeup of Portugal. So Auchan's probably the best for that kind of going to find something that a familiar brand, maybe a Heinz baked beans, you'll go to Auchan for that.
Well, yeah, and we're here to help with that, because I think that can be quite stressful if you go shopping for the first time, you're new to the country, and you stand there in the aisles. I think, Jerry, you've got an insight on this, haven't you? It can be quite disturbing for somebody fresh to the country seeing.
You don't even have to be fresh to the country, Carl. You just have to be. You just have to be a Luddite like me.
Okay.
Who even today walked past a beautiful looking fish counter with all these fish staring back at me and not being able to. I love fish, but I cannot buy a whole fish. I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
I need someone to do all the work and present me a nice clean fillet of fish and so on. I need to get better at that, and I need to get my language skills better so that I can ask the fishmonger to fillet the fish for me. And I think the same thing happens, and I've heard this from fellow members, Americans, where they find it difficult to be able to buy the right cuts of meat, or they want minced meat, which doesn't always be on display. But if you ask the butcher, he'll very happily take some beef or some pork or whatever it is and mince it for you. And but if you've got to be able to ask him to do that in Portuguese. So maybe that's something we ought to cover, Carl.
Definitely.
In terms of being able to sort of shop for these things.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking to Philomena in the morning. I will pass that message on to her, especially from you, Jerry, about how to get your fish gutted at the local supermarket. I'll get back to you on that.
Thank you.
As well, a great question from Marty P. Of these many brands here in Portugal, how many of them have Portuguese ownership? I'm not sure if Astrid, you or me, Jerry, know the answer to that. I think Thomas does, though. So can we unmute you, Thomas, and give us a bit of an insight on that? Because I suspect you might know.
Sorry, what was
about of all the brands? I mean, clearly the Spanish ones are Spanish and not Portuguese. Which of the ones that Astrid has mentioned there are Portuguese owned? If people want to come and put money back into the Portuguese economy rather than having it funneling out of the country, which is the best bet for Martin?
Well, it's a difficult question in terms of the businesses themselves. I put in the chat quite a lot of all of the Leclercs and the Intermarchés are franchises. So generally speaking, the stores are owned by people broadly, locally, regionally in Portugal, even though the name above the door is a French brand in those two cases. Continent is Portuguese owned, but it's owned by Sone, which is one of the biggest companies in Portugal. It's a phenomenally wealthy, broadly almost multinational type company. So how much the money actually ends up in regular people's pockets is questionable, I would say.
Okay.
Personal perspective.
Yeah.
Pingo Doce was Portuguese owned. It's now joint owned with the Dutch. They're not great on buying Portuguese produce, and that's the other bit of the equation for me, is where do these places get their produce? A lot of the meat, fish, fruit and veg in Lidl and Aldi is actually sourced from Portugal. They have a better selection of Portuguese tuna and things like that. So for me, it's more about where do the products originate, at least as much as who owns the name above the door.
Very good.
There's also been a bit in the chat about municipal markets, which, you know, if you really want to keep money in the local economy, the municipal market in your nearest larger town's the place to go for certainly fruit and veg, because it's going to be cheaper, it's going to be better. And if the ladies or gents don't grow it themselves, they know where it comes from.
Yeah. Well said. And I think, I mean, this is the supermarket shopping special. So we'll stick with the supermarkets tonight, but that's certainly another special, isn't it? About how to go to the market and how to do the thing that Jerry wants to do, you know, communicate with the stall owners, the fish ladies. I have a special relationship with a couple of fish ladies at my local Mercado, municipal Mercado, which is a fascinating experience to get involved with for intermediate level rather than beginner level, I would say. But yeah, thank you for that question, because somebody was asking about the local markets, and we should definitely do something on that.
Just one other thing, somebody was asking about the international imported stuff.
Yes.
Leclerc, if you've got one near you, can be quite good, and imported stuff from other parts of Europe. They have quite a good range of French and sometimes Italian bits. That may not be what people on this call are looking for. There's nowhere that's amazing on, you know, North American imports or Mexican stuff or things like that when it comes to the supermarkets. But Leclerc's often overlooked. And if you're in central or northern Portugal and you've got those, they're quite a good place. I put in the chat, they're the only place I know that has actual Greek yogurt as opposed to Greek style, for example. It's now really quite expensive. It's shot up to about €5 for one of those kind of, I don't know what size they are, the big tubs.
Yeah.
Whereas it was about £2, you know, a year ago. But there are certain things that they're really good for. And I know that in one of the small towns near here, where there's an Intermarché and a Pingo Doce, the way the locals there shop is they go to Pingo Doce for things like fish, seafood and wine, and they go to Intermarché if they're getting fruit and veg and some of the meat. So often it's about which one's best on certain categories as much as the pricing. You know, where has the fish counter that actually has the best prawns at the weekend, or where you can actually get decent fish on a Monday, is one of the things that might matter.
Yes, that's great. And that's what I was alluding to earlier on, is that there's a hunter-gatherer approach, isn't there, that needs to be cultivated here in Portugal. It's going to be a bit unlikely that you will say, okay, I've got it. I think I'm a continent person. I'll get everything I need once a week in there. It's not the Portuguese way, is it? The hunter-gatherer is the way, maybe going once every other day, sometimes daily. And then, yeah, the meat is best in there, the wine is best in there, and the prawns, etc., as you say. So that's what I would encourage people to do, is get into that way of thinking, because you might be disappointed if you're thinking, I'm just going to pick one. I need to know the best one, and I'll just keep going there. It's not really how it operates here in Portugal. The other part of where you've been very busy in the chat, and thank you for that, is on the whole food part of the supermarket, and which are best at that. And I think it's fair to say now, most of the supermarkets have a lot of vegan, vegetarian, and whole food type aisles or sections, don't they? What would you say about that?
They're definitely
Sorry.
There are definitely more and more plant-based options coming into the supermarkets, as well as the organic products. When I came here like 10 years ago, it really wasn't something even spoken about. It wasn't important, but you can definitely see the difference in the supermarkets now. Continent have a special or organic section, or the vegan section in the supermarket. Aldi does really well-priced organic product as well, bio product. But they're the other supermarkets. I know that the Leclerc that Thomas just mentioned before is probably the best place to go for eco-friendly cleaning products. You can't really find a lot in the other supermarkets, although they are starting to come in. But I know that Leclerc have a good range there. So yeah, again, as said before, you really need to find what you want and go to different supermarkets to find that option.
But the veggies and vegans needn't worry too much because that's the plant-based section as you
Yeah, and they've got the
right?
even now there's an advertising campaign going on for the plant-based chicken nugget kind of things, you know, so that it's becoming that common or that mainstream now that they're advertising it on TV or on posts on the road, the street posters and stuff like that. So that's how common it's becoming now, the vegan and plant-based options.
Excellent. Howard, thank you. Great presentation, Astrid, says Howard, and I, Newman, similarly as well. And how is that tofu curry? We'll come back to you on that, Thomas, who's owned up to eating a tofu curry as we're presenting this evening. Let's go to some of the other questions, and maybe we'll unmute the mic soon as well. Denise, what about fresh produce from village markets? I think Thomas has dealt with that just now, and we will do something on that. And is it usually cheaper to buy fresh seafoods at the town markets? Probably not, right, Astrid, because I think the economy of scale that the supermarkets have sometimes gets you a bargain on the fish, the golden bream as a speciality, you know, the mackerel and the sardines. The buying power of the supermarkets often gets you a bargain, doesn't it, in the fish department, for example?
I think so, but the markets by all means are definitely worth checking out as well. Unfortunately, I don't have a good market close to where I've been living, so exploring the fresh food markets is a new adventure for me and something I'm looking forward to. But maybe someone else can comment a bit better on that.
Excellent. Okay, and the big question of
Jerry or Thomas.
What about dried cod? Bacalhau, we haven't mentioned bacalhau yet. It wasn't on your shopping list, I don't think, was it? Can you just buy a small piece? And how do you know if the quality is good? Dare you answer that?
Well, from my Portuguese husband.
That's the way.
All I know is that you want to buy the thicker part of the bacalhau, so the thicker the better. You can go, they're piled, the whole fish are piled up in the supermarkets, just stacked, and you ask the lady, the senora, to come and help you, and they'll cut it according to what you want, but then you need to soak and change the water for 24 hours, so it's quite a bit of effort afterwards. But yes, you can get smaller pieces, and yes, you're looking for the thicker part, but they might get it. I'm assuming they're probably going to get a little bit edgy if you go in and just ask them to cut the thick bit off and leave the rest. But what I tend to do is, in the frozen department, they have got pre-soaked bacalhau available, and it comes in portions, and it's priced according to the thickness. So if you can afford to get the thicker stuff, you can get the packet of the thicker. If you can't, then you get the thinner pieces, and you just cook from that straight away. You don't need to soak it.
And it is, of course, the fragrance, I'll put it that way. It is the fragrance of the Portuguese supermarket that people will experience on their first visit, that they'll remember. The children will go, oh my God, what is that smell? The adults are a little bit more respectful, but you'll certainly encounter bacalhau nasally before visually, probably, in the supermarket, as well as custard.
You'll be able to smell the department, yes.
Yes, you can find your way to the bacalhau. It's a very...
I have a really good tip for buying that. Buy the smallest, cheapest bit you can afford, and then throw it out when you get outside the supermarket.
Not a fan. Okay, or let someone else cook it in a restaurant, I think, is probably the way forward. Until you become adept at cooking it yourself, and you've met a local Avo in your village or your town who can share a recipe with you. That's when, and maybe get her to take you shopping for it as well. Brilliant question from Howard here, Astrid. Are there independent local specialized stores, butchers, seafood, wild game stores that offer a different selection than supermarkets? That's a great question, Howard, because I'm thinking to myself, no, there aren't. The deli counter is usually inside a supermarket, and you're going to have to go to Lisbon, aren't you, or Porto, or a very big city to find a specialist shop of this kind. What do we think?
Yes.
Butchers maybe, right? But I mean, I'm thinking of, from the UK, I'm thinking of a specialized deli that is quite a British thing. That seems to be inside the supermarket. You're going to be, in a town, you're going to get butcher, baker, candlestick maker, but not somewhere with an Epicurean range. That seems to be maybe El Corte Inglés.
Maybe from some of the markets, they'll have a delicatessen section that you can get something a bit more interesting, a bit more unique. I know from when we want specific things from the butcher, we order them in. particularly because, you know, what we like to eat, for example, brisket is not necessarily always available from the butcher, so we place an order and we get that in. Just a brisket as an example there. So you can get to know your butcher and order things in specifically. But the other supermarket that would probably be good for those kind of options is Macro, which is it's like a cash and carry. So you need to be a business owner to be able to shop there. So most of the restaurants go there and buy their products that they're going to be using for their kitchens, and that has a huge range. You can buy Australian lamb there, you can buy beef cheeks, you can buy, you know, products that you can't get anywhere else. Their cheese section is just absolutely huge. You know, everything's in bulk, of course, but you know, something to consider if you are a business owner here and you want to make the most of that. And the fruit and veggies are very different too. You know, microgreens and parsnips and all these things that you can't necessarily buy in the regular supermarket.
I didn't know that. That's a good tip. So become a business owner, or become a friend of a business owner who will take you to a Macro.
Yes, a Macro.
Yeah, excellent. The question of weighing has come up, which is a really good one, because it can be really embarrassing, can't it, to just pick up a bit of fruit and veg in a certain supermarket, get to the counter or the checkout, and then be told off that you haven't put it in a bag with a sticker on it. Now, what I've noticed in the time that I've been here is most supermarkets now, you can take it to the checkout and they'll do it for you. But there are some exceptions, aren't there? So it's worth checking, I would say.
You just need to look at, you know, obviously for the scales that are in this fruit and vegetable section. If they've got the scales there, then you need to be able to weigh them and put your own sticker on. So behind the produce, there's usually a sign with a number. You just go and take your, you know, lettuce to the weigh scales, put the number in, and it will spit out a stick-on coupon for you. But yes, it's very inconvenient if you don't know you need to do that and you've gone all the way and waited in a queue to check out and you haven't weighed any of your produce, because not all of them have the facilities then to do it at the checkout. So you need to pack your stuff up and go back in and do it again. So
as Diana found out. Yeah, Diana. So let's go for some other useful tips, because I'm sure between us we can do this about the actual shopping experience. Yeah, that's the thing you learned the hard way in Italy. That I was supposed to have my fruit and veg, or the produce, weighed myself and given the weights to the cashier, held up the line due to my ignorance. What other things might hold the line up here in Portugal, do we think, Jerry, Thomas and Astrid? One of them might be being asked for your contribuent and standing there with a quizzical look on your face. We go to Thomas for this. He loves a NIF number, does Thomas, I think. What is happening there when you think you've just got out of the supermarket, you've negotiated the debit card thing, or you've paid cash? Oh, yes, perfect. I'm out of here. Nothing too embarrassing. And then the cashier is saying something to you that involves the word contribuent, and you don't know what the hell's going on.
Well, yes, because that's usually the second of the two questions, the first of which is some way of asking whether you want a bag or not. And I'm still surprised by the number of different words and ways of asking these questions there are. I still come across new ones. I've been here for years. But so the first question is probably, do you need a bag? And even if you're holding a large empty bag, they'll still ask you if you need a bag.
Yes.
And then there's the NIF number. And, you know, the point here is, in summary, that you don't need to give it. It's broadly slightly helpful across a year to give it enough in general shopping that you get the little bit of kind of deduction that comes off your tax bill at the end of the year. But it's more important to give it on large purchases, and often those are mandatory anyway. So if you just politely shake your head to the questions, unless you actually need a bag, that's probably the best place to start. The NIF number is important if you're buying something for a business or whatever, where there is actually more of an offsetting that could be done.
Okay, thank you for that. So yeah, NIF, contribuent, and other words that Thomas is discovering, despite being here for a long time. Great question, thank you, Barak. Astrid, I don't know if you double up with the sort of petrol and grocery purchasing, as Barak's alluding to here. Do any of the groceries also, or grocery stores, have petrol stations associated with them? Sorry, here in the US that is very common. And if you say spend $100 in groceries, you get you get 10 cents off per gallon of petrol. Is that happening here as well, Astrid or Jerry?
Yes, they do. Auchan has their own petrol stations, usually located very close to the supermarkets, and it's probably one of the cheapest places to buy your fuel. So they don't necessarily offer like a spend $100 and get 3 cents off a litre, but they do. Actually, maybe they do, but they never ask for a card in Auchan. So that's watch this space. We'll need to find that out. Pingo Dos is associated with BP, and Continent is associated with Gulp. So there are some that've got the deals there. Yes.
So
and there's Intermarché usually have their own filling stations as well, I think.
And they're very cheap too.
Okay, thank you for that. Did you want to say anything about the loyalty cards at this point, Jerry? Because that one might be the third question, mightn't it? That I imagine a lot of the staff are obliged to ask you. Do you have our store card here? What's your experience of that recently?
Well, I think that I think in any country these loyalty cards only work if you work hard at making them work for you.
Yeah.
They're not so popular in Portugal, although I think that's changing because I think the supermarkets are catching on to what they can do and the potential of these loyalty cards. And Portugal is very good at letting other countries develop the technology and the ideas, and then jumping in when it's all nicely developed and working well. And that's when Portugal come along. So it's probably about the time that they're going to do it, I think.
Yeah.
I also agree with Astrid and Thomas that, and I personally find it very difficult still in Portugal, that you cannot go to one supermarket and come back with everything you need. You have to go to different supermarkets for different things. And going from the UK, where it was a choice between basically two supermarkets, Tesco or Sainsbury's, and you could pretty much get everything in either one. So you certainly didn't need to go to both. So that doesn't help the loyalty card thing, but nevertheless, I think that Anna's not on tonight, but I know Anna was saying on the last time we did this subject, Anna was saying that by using her loyalty card, she can, on average, she can get 1 week shopping free per month. On what on the way she makes it work, and I can see that. Even in our household of two, we're getting sort of 10% discounts on the various different food things through using a loyalty card. And there are other loyalty cards for things like fuel. If you join ACP, the Automobile Club here, they have schemes only available on certain days, and I think there has to be an hour in the month, and you have to multiply it by 3 and think of a number and take it away. But there's certainly at least one day in every month where you can get sort of 15 cents a litre reduction on petrol, which can be quite significant.
Perfect.
So these things are starting to happen. Even TAP Airline now have a loyalty card. They have a credit card that every time you spend €1, you get 3 miles or something like that. And so that's starting to roll out now in Portugal.
Thank you, Jerry, for that. Now, Howard wants to keep taking us to the top end, the high end of things here. And Astrid wants to know if there's a Harrods or Selfridges food hall type experience in Portugal. Would that be El Corte Inglés again?
El Corte Inglés, say for the one in Lisbon, if you go to the top floor, you've got this amazing top food court, top wines, fresh produce, the best pastas you can buy. We're looking at truffle olive oils and stuff like that. So definitely there are places that you can go to get those kind of products, but El Corte Inglés would be the place to have on the radar, whether it's the regular supermarket or the gourmet shop on the top floor.
That answers his question about where the Michelin chefs shop in Portugal as well. Then,
yeah, definitely, it's worth a trip. It's great for gift buying and stuff like that too. So, yeah.
So a couple more things before we throw the mic open and let everyone jump in with their questions, because lots have come in. Wine, Portuguese wine, and the wine section. That's going to be a bit different for people, and locations of stores. Now, the stores we've spoken about aren't necessarily spread all over the country, are they? I know that I go to an Aldi in Caldash, and friends I've got further up north have Aldi Envy. You're not necessarily going to get all of these stores all over the country, and that might be something people need to consider, right, when they're choosing where to live.
I think it depends on the size of the place that you're choosing to live. So usually I live in Cascais, so I've got everything available to me all around, well, most of them available, or the ones I want available to me. At the moment, I'm at my country home in Castell de Vide, and my local supermarket is Pingo Dos. But if I want to drive an extra 20 kilometers, then I've got all the others to choose from as well. So, it depends on how far you're prepared to drive for what it is that you're after. But in the township where I am, I only have a Pingo Dos.
Okay, and that might be the case depending on where you end up. And of course, Astrid can pop over the Spanish border where you are now as well, which is rather nice.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah,
the tax is cheaper over there, so that's always a good shot too.
Oh, okay, that's a good tip as well. Okay, let's finish this particular bit and your wonderful presentation with a little look at Portuguese wines. What occurred to me, tasting and buying wine here, is it's deeply patriotic, isn't it? The wine aisle here in Portugal is not wine from all over the world as I'm used to in the UK. It's wine from all over Portugal, isn't it? Each region is represented. And if you're lucky, there might be a Côte de Rhône or a Chardonnay on the end as an afterthought. What's that about?
I think the supermarkets are just very, very loyal to Portuguese wines. And I think the Portuguese believe and they're probably rightful in believing so, is that some of the best wines, or most of the best wines, come from Portugal in the first place. So if you go to some of the bigger supermarkets, like the hypermarkets or the jumbo size Continents or Shans, you can find their wines from other countries. They'll have it in a much smaller section, but than what you're used to. But the majority of the focus here is on the Portuguese wine offering.
Superb. Okay, thank you very much, Astrid. Appreciate the presentation. The video will be available on the YouTube channel. So thank you very much for now. I'll stop the recording there and we'll throw the mute buttons off.